Hey, good evening, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook with you, coming to you with our Sunday Night Live. Just got some special guests here in just a few moments, but while we allow some folks to join us, I just again want to welcome you to the Truth, Logic, and Common Sense Conservative Campfire Network that is being brought to you by The Dam is About to Bust Wide Open. And so again, as we're allowing folks to join us, I appreciate you taking a little bit of your time on a Sunday evening to join us as we get caught up on some of the issues of the day, of the week that's happening. I know we've kind of advertised a few of my colleagues to be on, but I know there's a ton of petition signing events going on all across these districts as we get into the final week of petition work for everybody to be on the June 28th ballot. And I want to just kind of highlight a couple of those that I have going on this week. Wednesday night, we'll be in Neoga at the Ville on 45, a pizza place there. We'll have pizza, good times, good friends, and we'll sign some petitions. 6 o'clock, come out. And then also we will be at the Pizza Man in Pana on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And so anyhow, we're looking forward to meeting y'all on those. You can find out all about those events at bradhalbrook.com. Looks like we're kind of... Okay, I think we're back. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulties as always. So with that, I'm going to bring on Chris Miller, and then we'll just start introducing our guests. So Representative Chris Miller, welcome to the event. How's things going?
Oh, I tell you what, it's great to be here. Technology, when you get to be our ages, most of the time is not our friend, but it's great when it works.
Yeah. So, hey, just real quick, as we bring everybody on, what's your thoughts about the dam is beginning to bust, Chris? Do you think that's happening? What's your thoughts about the dam is beginning to bust in and around this whole mask mandate?
Well, I think you all know where we live, the mask mandate has been gone for a long, long time, and we took seriously the challenge to take 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So we got that baby doll flattened in about 2 weeks, and we've just been living life on the farm where I live, and everybody's doing good. But it's kind of interesting that I just feel like that this almost has to be a pride thing, that they just can't admit that they were wrong. And it's real easy. You just say, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong about the science. I was wrong about everything to do with this, and just go back to life as normal.
Right, exactly. Hey, let's bring on Representative Dan Caulkins from Decatur. Dan, it looks like you made the trip. We're having a little struggle with our technology all over, it seems like, but you made it.
Wow. I'm either going to have to get younger or find someone to help me. I don't know. It's going to be easier. But yeah, no, thanks, Brad. Glad to be here. This is a new experience of trying to work with this deal. But I came in the office because, as you know, I can't get my phone to use this stuff. But we'll work on that this week when we go back to Springfield.
Yep, exactly. All right, and with that, I am going to bring on our very special guest today, Ted Dabrowski, co-founder of WirePoints. Welcome, Ted.
Hey, thanks for having me on with you guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you. I know it's your Sundays are probably pretty valuable to you, and again, I appreciate you just taking a few minutes to be with us, guys. We just want to kind of have a little round robin discussion here this afternoon about what's been happening in and around this mask mandate stuff. You know, we've seen multiple court cases over the last several months. There was a TRO that was handed down, I think, on February the 4th. JCAR vote a couple of weeks ago, 9-0 against the IDPH rule, a bipartisan vote. And then we saw that things were appealed. The governor appealed the decision on the TRO to the appellate court and ultimately went to the Supreme Court. And then that decision came out on Friday. Ted, what's your thoughts about all that? Let's just go back to Ted and we'll just kind of bounce around here with conversation questions from all of our panelists.
Yeah, you know, the whole thing has been very confusing, and my partner, Mark Glennon, you know, has written about it pretty extensively. But the bottom line is a lot of the rulings have been confusing. A lot of the outcomes have been confusing. But the good news is that, you know, the mandate's gone, and Governor Pritzker said that he's done with the mandate for now. The other good news that came from D.C. was the CDC new guidelines that basically, you know, put most of Illinois in the low category for risk, and so therefore they're happy with masks being off as well. And the bottom line, though, is that, you know, the Supreme Court went against Pritzker's mandate. Pritzker tried to flip it, make it sound like good news for him, that he's got a chance to implement it later on if he wants to, but nevertheless he's removed the mask mandate. And so I think the good news is now everybody's going to get a taste of being maskless, and I think that's good for the wave that you were asking about earlier. Yeah,
exactly. Dan, what's your thoughts on what's transpired here in the last few days with all this?
It seems like sanity is returning, although that's probably a stretch for Springfield. But you know, this court case set the stage. Judge Grishow stepped up and did what I think the law required her to do, and I think correctly interpreted the law. And then JCAR did what they were supposed to do. You can only, put an emergency order in for 180 days. And by continuing these executive orders and emergency rules, the governor and his administration have been skirting their need to come to the General Assembly, the House and the Senate, and either get concurrence and support in the law, as opposed to continuing to make rule after rule after rule. You know, this is analogous to the Prisoner Review Board, where the governor can nominate, the person can serve for up to, I think, 180 days, and they either have to be confirmed or withdrawn. Well, the governor lets them serve for 179 days, withdraws their nomination, comes back 2 days later and reappoints people to the Prisoner Review Board because he is skirting the law, Constitution, the way, you know, we are empowered to act. And I think that's exactly what JCAR, the members of JCAR, decided. We're not going to let the governor continue to issue these executive orders back to back to back to back without coming to the General Assembly. So we'll see. We'll see if they have the votes, if they want to try to do this. But I mean, I can't imagine a lot of members wanting to take a vote on giving the governor unlimited powers to do anything. So right. I'm very thankful. And Ted, your organization has obviously been at the forefront of this and pushing people to get involved and to activate folks. So I think this accumulation of our voters, our citizens, and our efforts, and then the court, and now JCAR. So I think the governor's pretty well done. I want to see what happens Tuesday in the House chamber.
Exactly. Chris, what's your thoughts on what's transpired over the last few days or few weeks here and around all this mask stuff and the court cases?
Well, I know that in sound science, your observation dictates your conclusion. And I know just watching this clown show and the Pritzker administration, I've come to the conclusion that J.B. Pritzker has a real hard time telling people the truth. And this is just another case. Even I was reading the Wirepoint article, which, by the way, I strongly encourage you all to read that article. It's very informative and gives you a real snapshot of what's going on, and it gives you a window into the character of our governor when he just can't seem to give it up, even though that he's lost in the courts, he's lost in the science, and he's lost in the courts of public opinion. And so I'm not exactly what motivates him, other than he just has to be too proud to give it up and to admit that he was wrong on all these things, and the people were right, actually. And I know that was one strong signal that we tried to send to our constituents last Tuesday, when we stood up for them and we went to the floor and we refused to continue the theater and the charade by putting a face diaper on to do the people's business there in the State House.
Right. Exactly. Guys, it looks like we're trying to get Blaine to join us here. He's, I was hoping that he'd be on there for just a second. Hey, let me pull up a commenter here. Ted, I don't know if you can see that or not. The question from Shauna, I believe it is, the question is due process rights that Griswold laid out in the TRO. Ted, any thoughts about, I mean, that's kind of central to this whole argument, right? Was due process?
There really is, right? Because, and I think there's still some open questions on that. But, there was no due process. And when you think about it, we haven't talked much about quarantining, right? Which is another part that I'm still looking for more answers on. Maybe they're clear now, but I know there's some rulings coming out of Cook County. But, when you're going to quarantine somebody, there better be a really strong due process and reasons for doing it, and evidentiary hearings and things like that, so that people can't just like pull you out of school or pull you out of work or whatever it is. And so right. The due process is really it, and Tom DeVore hit on it perfectly. There's a rule of law that we need to establish here and follow. And so if you're going to do things that they've done, whether it's quarantining via masking or quarantining because you take people out of a school, for example, there's got to be a due process, and if you don't have it, then anybody can do anything, right? So I think that's been the big thing here, is that rule of law counts; it matters.
Right, Dan. Due process and what's been happening in the city of Decatur and Macon County, have they handled it a little bit different, or a lot like Chicago? They just put these mandates on. What's it been like in and around your neighborhood and central part of the state?
Well, we've had the mask mandates come and go. Businesses have had the option. I guess they've been corporate has dictated that masks are required, although in the last few days, I think people have they're not waiting until tomorrow. The schools have had mandatory masks up until last week when the final orders came down from JCAR. They relented a couple of days later, so they've gone mask optional for the first time. But you look at the general population and what's going on, there are still people that want to wear a mask, that feel safe with the mask on, and there may even be people who have become addicted to the mask. I don't know. I mean, there's a psychological thing about wearing a mask. But for the most part, people are now, I think, getting along without it. Macon County has been done very well as far as the pandemic. I think people are well past time to get back to some normalcy. I don't think we're going to see huge crowds. It'll be interesting on St. Patrick's Day, big events here in Macon County. We have, a parade and a couple of gatherings, and we'll see. That was the last public gathering we went to 2 years ago before the governor locked the state down. It was right on the eve of that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some people have some anniversary parties. 2-year anniversaries of the lockdown.
Yeah. Well, definitely 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Chris, you touched on this earlier, has turned into 2 years. And some would say 2 years of just complete tyranny. The General Assembly's been froze out of any of the decision making with the governor. And I know you live and work over on the eastern side of the state, from Coles County south into Lawrence County. How's things in and around Coles County, and what's been the mindset of folks in that area?
Well, I think for the most part, people are pretty good at looking at and analyzing a situation and seeing the hypocrisy that we have seen from this governor, and he's operated by the principles, do what I say, not what I do, and so, when I just look at this, and it seems like to a large degree we lost a lot of our critical thinking skills and being able to dissect the situation and come up with the best solution for you. Because let's face it, what makes America America is individual liberty and limited government and rule of law. And I know that our current governor has totally blown all those ideals and those foundation and fundamental principles to smithereens, as he has tried to be a tin-horn dictator to tell people how to live their lives, when he's jetting to Florida and Wisconsin and living his best life, while he's got the rest of it, a lot of people that were willing to comply, wearing masks and looking like idiots, as Representative Chesney would say.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Ted, yesterday, in a report here, I guess from your partner Mark Glennon, the headline was Governor Pritzker falsely claims victory after Supreme Court ruling, then surrenders on statewide school mask mandate. The first paragraph, it says Illinois Supreme Court on Friday rejected the Pritzker's administration's request to appeal a lower appellate court ruling, thereby effectively ending the statewide school mask mandate. Individual school districts become free across Illinois to decide for themselves on school mask. After the ruling, Pritzker said his mandate will end Monday, a mandate he has claimed is legal and still effective despite lower court rulings to the contrary. Ted, what's your thoughts on all of that?
Well, like I think Chris was saying, Pritzker doesn't want to let go of his power on this. He wants the mandate to be done when he says it's over, not when others say it's over. And that's been his game the whole time, obviously. And we've had over 700 days of executive orders. So I think it's not a surprise. What is surprising is how hard he's been trying to hold on to that, because the courts, before it went to the Supreme Court, and the courts, Griswold had ruled it the way that she did. He kept saying that the mask mandate was still in place, which is not true. And now he's saying something similar, saying with the Supreme Court refusing refusing the appeal and vacating the TRO, he's trying to say that basically that the courts have reversed the lower court rulings, and so therefore he can always bring up the mandate whenever he wants. And according to Mark and his legal analysis, he's a lawyer, that's not true as well. So Pritzker's doing his best to hang on, but then of course acting like, hey, I'm lifting the mask mandate, so it's my decision now, and I'll bring it back if I need to. But for now, let's move forward.
Right, exactly. And a thought I have, and I don't know if your report touches on it or whatever, but what I'm curious about is everybody's take on this idea, how the Attorney General decided who he was going to represent in this case. I mean, the Attorney General has a responsibility probably first to the people and then to the constitutional officers. Ted, what's your take on that? What are you guys at Wire Points? What's your take on how that should be? Well,
it's an interesting question, and by chance we had Tom DeVore on our podcast. Was it Thursday before the Supreme Court ruling? But he's running for Attorney General, and he made it very clear. And of course, obviously we see what Kwame Raoul is doing. He's playing the politics, so he's wanting to defend Pritzker, not the people. A guy like Tom DeVore said, look, I know that I represent the state, but my first responsibility is to the people and to freedom and to rule of law. And if there's a 700 straight days of executive order, sorry, Governor, I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit what Tom was saying, but he's gonna have to represent the people and defend the people first. So I hope. And, I don't know enough about the Attorney General role and how that all plays out, but it sure as heck sounds right to me what Tom DeVore was saying, defend people's liberties first, and then secondary would be the governor.
Right, exactly. Hey, Dan, what the Secretary of State, Jesse White, has made a statement about what's going to happen in those local branch field offices. Can you comment on what he said about who's going to be wearing masks and who's not come Monday, Tuesday?
Well, Secretary White has put out a notice to all of his employees and all of the locations that he controls, which is, by the way, the Stratton building and the Capitol come under his domain. So starting Monday, although I don't think the facilities are open, at least not around here.
Right.
They are mask optional. So if you need to go get a driver's license renewed or your license plate or title or whatever, that is a mask optional. His employees, he said, will continue to wear a mask. I suspect for their own protection, and that's up to him and that's up to them. But it's going to be, I think, rather bizarre in the Stratton building when we go back to work on Tuesday, because we're at mask optional in the Stratton building. Then we go across the way to the Capitol, and that's mask optional. And then you go up to the third floor and you go in the door and you have to put your mask on. I don't know. I sent an email to Leader Durkin 2 days ago and asked him, I said, so what's going to happen Tuesday? What is Speaker Welch thinking? And I sent him the map, the CDC put that map out of Illinois and all the green and yellow. There's a couple of red places or whatever, but Springfield, I believe, is green, which means it is the safest place, one of the safest places to be in Illinois. And I said, hopefully we're following the science as we've always done. Not really. And we will go mask optional in the House chambers. But as those of you that have followed this drama for the last week know, there's no way to go mask optional until we rescind 51.5, the House Rule 51.5, which requires us to wear a mask in the chamber. So they are going to have to rescind 51.5 or continue to enforce the mask rule in the chamber Tuesday.
Right. And then Brad, we know Brad, that you entered in a resolution to rescind all that language about a week and a half ago.
I've given them an out. I've given them a way to get out of this mess. Offered it to them in the form of a resolution to rescind 51.5, and they've rejected me. So we'll see what their plan is.
Right. Chris, any thoughts on who the AG should represent, or maybe kind of how this is all going to work out come Tuesday when we go back to Springfield?
Well, I don't know about you, but I have already set myself free. And so I don't really care what everybody else does. I will be mask optional. And guess which option I'm going to choose.
I understand. Yeah, I think many of our viewers know which way it's going to be for those of us that represent Central and East Central Illinois. Ted, any closing thoughts on this? This idea about this whole mask confusion that the governor talks about? I think it's pretty clear, but I'm not a lawyer. But I can read the law and I can kind of understand some of this stuff. But what's your closing thoughts on all this?
No, my closing thoughts are it's pretty clear. The Supreme Court's ruled that way. If Pritzker wants to start over again, he'll get back into the exact same suit at the lower court, so we'll start over again. So I think it's pretty clear. I just want to add a couple other thoughts too. I live in the North Shore, so masks are very popular here. And the good news is I went to a high school basketball game. And walked in and nobody was wearing masks. I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people were wearing masks. So I'm arguing that if the Wilmette-Winnetka area is giving up on masks, that's good news for Illinois because they've tended to be pretty big rule followers.
Right.
So I think that's good news. And the last piece of good news is there's only 3 states left with a mask mandate, a statewide mask mandate: New York, California, and Hawaii. So they're the extreme. We're part of the extreme, but it looks like we're off of that for now, thank God. But there's only 3 states left, so hopefully, assuming that COVID continues to behave, we're on a good path. But I think the key thing is we saw parents rise up. We've seen a lot of parents in the suburbs here speak up against them. So you asked it early on to Chris, I think it was. I think that the move by the people is in the right way. We just have to sustain it. We can't get back and get lackadaisical.
Right. Well, and I want to kind of move on to the next subject here, and this situation where we've seen in the last year, I guess, in this thing, to where parents of school-age children have been termed domestic terrorists. All the while, we've had a state senator that's been charged since sometime in 2019, has been under these evidently some embezzlement charges, and finally resigned when he pled guilty on this past week. And the parents are the domestic terrorists, and yet we have a state senator that's continuing to be a state senator, show up, make laws, and get paid for it. And then finally last week he pled guilty to that. Dan, what's your thoughts on all that? And that just doesn't seem right to me.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm puzzled that you think that there's something out of the ordinary. This is how business is done in Springfield. I mean, for governors all the way down. I mean, lobbyists, it doesn't matter. And if they get caught, what's the easiest way to get out of it? Just change the law. Just make a new law that eliminates the crime. I mean, we've seen this, I mean, Chris, you and I, we've seen it now for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Total disregard. They have complete control of government. Even when Governor Rauner was in office, they had control of a lot of the departments. The middle management and upper management people were leftovers and holdovers. They were Mike Madigan people. And this state has been run for 30 some plus years by the Democrats, and they have no regard for the law. There's been, every now and then one of them gets picked off because they go too far over the edge. But, that's, and right down, Brad, right down to the last example of skirting the the legislative IG selection process. They went completely around it and just appointed the person they wanted with total disregard for the process that had been set in place and the rules that were made to pick a successor to the legislative IG. Now, I'm not criticizing the judge that has gotten appointed. I think he is, going to be a good IG, but they don't care. And they don't, and the rules don't apply to them because every time they want to do something, they end up bending the rules. So, I guess, the senator that's going away, I think he just thought it was part of the game. Right. It was part of the process. Hey, I don't have anything else to do. I need to make some extra money. I can't really live on my salary. So the Teamsters gave him a job. And I'm not so sure that he is he's a nice, person and a good family man. But because Springfield is so corrupt, he didn't think twice about, a ghost payroll job. Yeah. I think he just thought it was part of the deal.
That way of doing business, Dan and Chris, I mean, it's just become part of the fabric, right? It's just kind of the way Springfield seems to operate, which is kind of the issue. And Dan, you touched on the rules, and they make the rules, and then they choose when to apply which rules and when not to, and just like with the inspector or the auditor general a few years ago, $250,000 of misspending with these campaign finances. And what they do last spring, just change the law. So that stuff's all legal now. So it just is really a corrupt way of doing things. So Ted, any thoughts on this indictment? Or I guess he pled guilty, to these federal embezzlement charges. Any thoughts? What do you see? What's the mood like in the North Shore and around up in Chicago?
Well, I think we just come back to, I can't add more than was said, is that this has just become so commonplace that, you hear it, you don't even get shocked by it, right? It's just, okay, next guy. I think the big thing, and this came up in our DeVore discussion the other day, was the big problem we have in Illinois, and maybe why so many people think they can get away with it, is that you don't have any state investigations. Most people are getting busted by the feds, and maybe that's a harder. It's harder for them to do that. But if we had our own investigations, our own Auditor General and others busting people, we'd go a lot. Maybe people would be scared, but they're not, and so they keep doing it. We need toughness within the state. We shouldn't be relying on the federal government to find all these bad guys all the time.
Right. Exactly. Hey guys, let's move on to our last topic about this trucker convoy that's moving through potentially here this week, maybe as early as Tuesday. Illinois State Police issued a press release yesterday talking about that cautions motorists to engage in acts who could endanger the safety of the motoring public. They're going after these truckers. They're already giving them a warning that they could have some issues if they are deemed to impede the traffic flow. Chris, what's your thoughts on how Illinois wants to treat a group of people that brings us goods and services from all over the nation and all over the world?
Well, it's I know it's a cliche, but it's so true and fitting that you can't make this stuff up, because we do have a constitution, we do have the law, and I don't know if these guys forgot what was in the First Amendment, but we have the right to peaceably assemble, and we have the right to bring our grievances before the government. And I mean, it just seems like it flies directly into the face of a common sense analysis of what it says in the First Amendment. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
And another thing too, what are they going to do if the truckers just say, hey, we ain't bringing anything to Illinois anymore? Sorry, you guys, you're on your own.
Right. And Dan, Decatur has got this inland port, tons of rail traffic, tons of trucks moving in and out of there. What is that? I mean, is that the world's largest inland port, or like one of the top 3 or 4 inland ports like that? Or maybe there's none like it anywhere else, but truck traffic is pretty vital to Decatur and central Illinois.
Well, we have an inland port. We're bringing containers in from Chicago primarily to try to take some of the pressure, off of that port. But I sent an email to our state police legislative liaison, and I'll just tell you, I told him, I said, this is total BS. We should not and cannot try to intimidate people who are expressing their opinion peacefully, the right of assembly, the right of free speech. This goes against the Constitution. I'm very, very disappointed in Director Kelly for allowing this. He's a former prosecutor. He's a lawyer. He knows exactly what he's doing. Generally, he's been a really good person to work with. So I wonder what kind of pressure the Pritzker administration, or even maybe the Biden administration, is putting on these states, on our state police. I hope that I get an opportunity to talk to him tomorrow. But this is, this is something that our government, our state police, should not be engaged in at all.
Ted, let me read you this comment. This is back in August of 2020. There was a planned protest that was going to shut down the Dan Ryan Expressway. You probably remember this. I don't know, but the state police issued a statement saying the Illinois State Police is aware of a planned protest to march along Dan Ryan Expressway on August 15th, 2020. We have been in contact with the protest organizers to set up a safe route of travel. The Illinois State Police will protect the rights of those seeking to peacefully protest while ensuring the safety of the public. We will keep interested media posted once more information is available. What a contrast from August of 2020 until today. What's your thoughts?
It depends who's marching. It depends who's blocking traffic. Yeah, I know it is a huge contrast, and I think that's part of the hypocrisy, right? this has been a tremendous 2 years that we've been talking about it. We just talked about all the mandates. We talked about all the, Chris said it perfectly about the individual rights being squashed. We need to stand up, and the truckers, we saw what they did in Canada. They were a great voice for people in a country that, was lacking voice. We've had a lot of voice here, but it'd be great to have the truckers, continue to amplify that voice, that it's okay to stand up. It's okay to take on, any kind of tyrannical mandates and things like that. So, they were okay doing it 2 years ago, but not anymore. So that's tells you everything you need to know.
Right. Yeah. Here's a commenter that just weighed in. The truckers are way more peaceful than the peaceful protests we saw in 2020 and 2021. No doubt. I mean, I'm not hearing that they're breaking any windows or setting anything on fire. Chris, unless you've seen that happening somewhere, I've not heard of that.
No, I tell you what, it's amazing how we define peaceful protests, and the Molotov cocktails are going into stores and businesses and, are breaking windows and looting and stealing. That's a peaceful protest. But now, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey,
And-
let's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, they're just driving through.
Right.
I mean, they're driving through. They're not like surrounding our state and shutting us down or whatever. Not that they couldn't or shouldn't, but they're just passing through.
Right.
How can you disrupt interstate commerce? Why would you even put out a message? If anything, you might want to alert people, hey, there's a large convoy of trucks passing through Illinois from the west to the east. But on these days, be extra cautious. But, to say what the Director Kelly put out is, I'm appalled by it, really. I mean, he's much better than that. And I hope he's got a good explanation tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. And like one of the commenters here, guys, is, you can see this stuff. It's live streamed on the internet. On different platforms, you can see it. I watched some of the Canadian stuff. I'm sure as all of you have. They were just doing their thing. They were, they were trying to appeal to their government about the stuff that was going on up there that they weren't quite agreeing with. So, yeah. All right. With that, guys, let's make it one more round. Chris, any closing thoughts before we head back to Springfield this week and we close this live stream up for the evening?
I'm going maskless.
All right, we won't go on any further than that. Dan, any closing thoughts?
Well, thank you, Brad, for putting this together. It's great to be with everybody. Ted, good to see you again. I hope now that you don't have to wear a mask, you can come back to Springfield and walk the hollow halls of the Capitol and haunt us all. The work that WirePoints does is something everybody should subscribe to. It's just a great way to start your day every day. And Brad, Chris, we'll be back Tuesday. It's going to be fun. Remember the old days? Maybe we should have a mask burning. I know the women back in the day had a burning.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just go out on the quad there and have a mask burning on Tuesday morning.
Some of the greenies will freak out.
Exactly. Ted, I really appreciate, what you're doing, the words that you guys print, the stuff that you put out, all the data that you collect, all the information. It's just an unbelievable, just a source that's unreal, unprecedented, the amount of information you guys put out. Ted, tell us a little more about what's going on at WirePoints and kind of how people can find you and kind of what to look forward to there.
Well, yeah, first, let me put it right back to you guys. You guys are great for standing up and being, again, people need to see leadership and a voice, and you guys are granting that. So thanks for what you guys do. At WirePoints, we're just trying to disseminate the information. This mask thing is hopefully at least done for a while. But I always want to remind all the people who are here following and who have been, I think, great at pushing back, because I think this is just beginning. This is waking up everybody to the fact that there's a lot of bad rules and bad laws in Illinois, and we're going to have to stay on top of those. In particular, collective bargaining is one that I'm after, because it's the teachers' unions that are very powerful at persuading administrators and the governor to impose these mandates. So look out for that. That's a big part of the work we're doing at WirePoints. But otherwise, you can find us at wirepoints.org. We have a daily email for free that we curate the best news that we think is out there. Plus, we put our stuff in there, and you can quickly go through it in the morning if you sign up for it on our website at wirepoints.org, and then of course on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, WirePoints at WirePoints. And thanks to those who follow us, and we'd love to see more people follow us and help disseminate the information.
Yeah, excellent. Gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate it. And with that, I think we're going to say good night, and we'll roll our outro video, and we'll talk to everybody real soon. Have a good evening.
Hey, thank you guys.